and this thing comes down from the ceiling. It was like a long chrome, I don't know, like a pole or a device that held this thing that looked like a gelatinous, almost like an organ, and it was kind of triangular shape type thing, and they said that we need to put this down your throat. And I'm looking down, and just to make it clear, there's no movement. Speech is mind to mind. It's telepathy. Very few times do you actually hear sound. It's just mind to mind, which is very efficient because you can't miscommunicate. Everything is, you're not getting mixed up on words. So anyways, I'm telling them, you're going to kill me. You're going to suffocate me. You can't put this down my throat. I'm gonna choke. And the thing is going to go down my throat, and it is going down my throat. And again, just like when I was a little child, I just blacked out. So I woke up in my bed, and I didn't see any signs, no redness on my throat, but I could not swallow for days and days. It was like the worst sore throat you ever had. I imagine, well, I don't know if you know what intubation is, but when you're in the ER or when you go to the ICU and you're on life support, they put this tube down there so that you can breathe. The machine breathes for you. You're intubated, and that leaves you with a very, very sore throat. So whatever it was of good size, and and it made me sore. But other than that, I was fine. So yeah, I've been like that, and I've been where I don't ever remember walking onto a ship. Basically, you kind of floated on. You kind of like get there. Most of the time, I am there, and like I said, roll, do this, do that. I remember snippets of that. But the bigger things, I guess the stuff that was more traumatic, that I remember pretty much in detail, as you see. The other one, as I was telling you about, and again, it was one of those rush things. Apparently, they seem to know things, unless they're just making this up as they go along, where I am, what I'm doing, and some sort of history as to what's going on, because this other time, this was fairly recent. This was, you saw the burn marks. This was shortly, what was this, before or after? Maybe just a little bit before the burns. They laid me on a table, and this is the one time, no, I take that back. There's twice, two occurrences where I actually felt, well, at least I think it was feeling. They were very upset. They were very concerned, worried almost to the point, saying that we got to do this now. And they laid me on this thing, and there was another assistant near a wall, and he was working some sort of controls. They looked kind of like slides or something like that, as far as kind of like switches, but not really. And then there was another operator that was above me. They looked kind of humanoid. And he put like this device that was above my chest, somehow a rolling device. And there was light on that. And I couldn't really move much, but I looked down, and I see this ooze coming up out of my chest. And I could feel like relief from them. I sensed it because they were really concerned. I don't know what the concern was. I don't even know what this stuff was. But you remember Bosco, that chocolate syrup these kids used to put in milk?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It looked like that. It was puddling out of my chest. It just came up and out, and then they were so relieved. And then he said to me, oh, it worked. It's good. You're going to be all right now. And that was it. I woke back up again. Again, they don't really give you explanations. I mean, I have people ask me, can't you just run around? Can't you fight them? Can't you do... No, you can't. At least I can't. The ability, the mind control, the lack of your control, for me, is astounding. Are then maybe, again, because I'm so used to it, I'm more pliable to that? It could be. I weigh all these different possibilities of what does this. But the relief that this worked, and to see this ooze come out, I mean, it's like, where did this ooze come from? I'm not a smoker. I don't know. I have no clue. And how did they know all of a sudden that it's there?
Well, that's...
So am I chipped or what?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Niels, that if you look at Timothy Cullen, for example, was implanted. A lot of people I've had on have been implanted. I think that they monitor your health. They monitor maybe your thoughts and your movements and stuff. They're examining you 24/7.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, here's another story. I got quite a few, I think. During the Cold War, you remember how we really thought that the Russians were going to be nuking us and so on and so forth. So
Oh, yeah.
I packed up my kids, my wife, first wife, and we took a 68 Mustang that this guy rebuilt for me, and we did a cross-country tour because we were trying to look for a place that, because I'm in Connecticut and where I am, it's if the missiles start flying, it's going to be really helter-skelter as far as radiation. But so we went to we went from here, we went to the Carolinas, and from the Carolinas we went to Florida. Well, nothing really UFO or anything like that happened. The nights were clear, in other words. I mean, sometimes I can kind of feel like when they're coming, I get this sense of, I don't want to say dread, but I know something's up. And when something doesn't happen and I have that feeling, I'm not quite sure what that was all about. But anyway, I'm down in Gulf Breeze, Florida, because I just wanted to see the place. I heard it was a hot spot. And we were in this, I guess it's a motel. I forget what the actual term for it was. I did not know what a dry town was. I found out what a dry town was. You can't buy booze in that place. And I was like, oh, okay, all right. But then I find out that, well, if you go to this certain room and you pay this club fee, then you can do that. And I think, I'm getting all kinds of learning here, you know. Well, anyway, so my eldest son and my wife, they're in their apartment, the room there, and they're watching TV, and I'm saying, come on, we're going to go out and look at because it was on this inlet, this bay. And for some reason, my wife and the eldest son got really irate, said, we're not going out there. I think, why? It's just take, sit out there, but, it's really nice. It was evening. Well, so this was like something out of Twilight Zone, because as we're walking out there, we picked up these folding chairs, the ones like the 1950s with the nylon straps there that you sit on. And other people were coming out of their rooms. And this is near a pool. And like I said, it was near a bay. And nobody said a word to each other. We all sat down. We all sat in the same direction. And all of a sudden, this big light comes up from the coast and gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It was kind of like almost like a fireworks thing, except it wasn't fireworks. It was just a bright light that was there, and everybody was kind of like ooh and ah. And then it kind of did this circle over the bay. There was no sound. It wasn't a chopper. It wasn't a plane. It didn't have blinking lights. It was a solid light. And then it kind of went off on its way, and everybody picked up their chairs. Nobody said a word to each other, which you would think people would be talking. Everybody quietly went back into the rooms. So that part was odd. But then the rest of the trip, and then from there we went to Arizona. Then from Arizona we went out to California, and then our house was up for sale, but it hadn't had sold yet. So we ended up coming back over the Rockies and get home. Okay, so the only odd thing there was that one occurrence. Well, on the second night, after we got home and gotten things settled, I got called onto the carpet. I was there. I was in some sort of circular hall, it's the only way I can put it, like almost like a disc. Again, kind of slanted. I was probably on a craft. Curved ceilings. And I got yelled at. And to get yelled at telepathically, believe me, is worse than being yelled at audibly, because it rings in your head. I was told to never, because we were gone for 3 months, to never, ever, ever do that again. So I guess the tracking only works for a distance, because apparently they didn't know where I was, but they were hyper pissed. And then, and I say he, it's pretty hard to tell gender, at least from the ones I see, said, you don't know the danger you put yourself in. And I didn't have the presence of mind to ask questions. I felt, even though I was an adult with wife and children, I felt like I was a little kid being admonished, that I had really done something wrong. And in my mind, I agreed. But I didn't know, and to this day, I still don't know what was out there that would have put me in such danger. Who was out there? What were they warning me about? But basically, I think they were telling me that I should stay put in this area and I should really not be doing any extensive, long time traveling. So I thought that, and at that point, like I said, there was, again, it may be feigned, and maybe it was to make an impression on me. But that really was upset anger, like a father really yelling at his kid.
Can I ask you a
like
question?
Like falling out into the road, you almost get hit, you stupid kid, you. It was like that.
Well, do you ever think, too, that maybe if you were implanted, that maybe some other humanoid species might be able to detect that implant, and maybe that's what they're worried about because you're out of their protection area?
Yeah, I have thought of that. I tend to mull these things over for years at a time. But yeah, that's crossed my mind. And then again, I don't know what our government is capable of. But yeah, that first thing did come to me, that there could be a predatory species there that knows that I'm tagged by XYZ and they want to see what's up. And I mean, I have to say, they do keep track of me. And as to why, I don't know. I do know, or I sense, I'm not trying to sound uppity, but I feel different. I don't know how to explain that. I mean, I seem to be able to do things and sense things, and if I'm too close to somebody, I pretty much know what they're thinking. If I touch them, I absolutely know what they're thinking. And it can be irksome. It can be bothersome. If somebody's lying to me and they're close by me, I know they're lying, but I won't tell them that. I'll just say, okay, because everybody evolves. Everybody does what they do for whatever, and I'm not here to judge. It's stupid because you don't know what road somebody else travels or what direction that's taking. So I don't say anything. So, but consequently, I tend to be, like I said before, I am a loner. I'm not. I'm sedentary to the extent that I walk up and down my road. I'm out in the country. I'm by a river. We have bald eagles. It calms my nerves. It's very, very nice. But I've been through so much, and I don't feel. I kind of know what's really going on, and I look at people. Again, this sounds terrible, but they're like white mice. They scurry here and they scurry there, and they have no idea what's really going on around them. I mean, it's kind of a scary universe out there if you stop and think about it or know about it. And I think that's why some people, when they hear this subject, they don't want to hear it because it upsets their paradigm, their idea of what is. I pay my bills, I watch TV, I have a nice dinner, and life is good. But to know that there's these other events going on, that kind of throws it's a fly in the ointment, so to speak. So some people, when and if disclosure happens, it's going to be a hard pill to swallow for them.
Well, I think it's going to be hard, too, because, like I said earlier, the government has lied, for so long and tried denying it. But then, it's like we were talking before we went on the air. I find it so strange, like the two pilots from the Nimitz, a little over 2 years ago, on a routine, practice mission, saw a UFO. They kicked on their afterburners. They couldn't even catch it. They couldn't even keep up with it. The thing made turns that they couldn't even do. And then, then nothing happened. It didn't hit the news. 2 years later, it kind of all of a sudden hit the news. Media had, a clip of it. They played it. And then 2 months after that, like I was telling you, the Secretary of the United States Air Force to the graduating cadets sits there and tells the cadets, don't worry about a war on the ground because it's not going to be. It's going to be, the next war is going to be out in space.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes you wonder what's going on. 2 months later, right, our beloved president says, as a joke at the start, he kind of just lays it out there. Well, we need to create a space force.
Yeah.
Now, I think it's a lot of things that's going on. I remember when I talked to Ronald Reagan because of a friend of my dad. I asked him about Star Wars because I was young. I was worried, because every day you'd pick up the newspaper and it was always like a kind of a threat between Russia and the United States. They could go to war at any time. And people were always worried about that because that's what you read in the news. And I asked him, I said, about the Star Wars, is that going to protect us against Russia or, the Soviet Union? And he said, I'm not worried about them. I'm worried about them out there.
Yeah.
And you know, being young, it didn't hit me. Now at my age, I sit there and I remember his words exactly.